Tale of Two Engines, written and told by Kiefer Adams. It was early morning on the narrow gauge railway, and Sir Handel had just returned after a mechanic had fixed his problem of going up hills. He hadn't returned from the Stone Quarry for very long, and was glad to be back. As Sir Handel was taking on water, Duncan arrived with some passengers. "You're looking much better," he said. "I suppose," said Sir Handel, "but my mechanical problem with going uphill should have been fixed before I came home from the Stone Quarry, not during it." "Then why wasn't it dealt with?" asked Duncan. "What even happened at that quarry, anyway?" Sir Handel looked at his buffers. I've got to go," he said hastily, and he puffed quickly away. Duncan was surprised. "I only asked a simple question," he flounced. A little later, Rheneas and Skarloey were waiting glumly at the wharf. Toby arrived, bringing some supplies from the Fat Controller's Railway. "Hello, fellas," he peeped. "I haven't seen you two since that mine reopened." "Oh, hello, Toby," said Skarloey. Toby was stunned. "Are you two all right?" "Well, sort of," said Rheneas. "Sir Handel recently came back from the quarry." "But we feel something's wrong with him," puffed Skarloey. "He's been quite distant from us since he came home." "Even when he had his problem up hills," added Rheneas. Toby pondered the problem. "I think you should talk to him," Toby suggested. "I feel that he's struggling to get used to his surroundings again." Rheneas and Skarloey considered this. Toby's supplies were soon unloaded. He wished the little engines well and set off back to the Fat Controller's Railway. Meanwhile, Sir Handel was waiting for Thomas at the transfer yards. The Fin Controller had sent Sir Handel to the timber yards, and he had just returned with trucks full of timber. When Thomas arrived, he could tell that Sir Handel was unhappy. "I just can't get used to the changes round here," said Sir Handel, "and I haven't really recovered from the Stone Quarry." "Have you told anyone else about this?" asked Thomas. "Not really, no," replied Sir Handel. "I'm worried they'll just tease and laugh at me." "No, they won't," reassured Thomas. "Don't forget, Sir Handel, these are exactly the same engines that worked alongside you before you left for the quarry. They would understand." "I suppose," said Sir Handel. "I was worried about admitting a few things when I first came here," said Thomas, "but thanks to Edward and the others, I managed to find my place on the line. It wouldn't hurt to tell the others what you experienced." Thomas's trucks were soon loaded and he puffed away, leaving Sir Handel deep within his thoughts. That evening, the engines gathered in the yards after a long day's work. Sir Handel was the last to arrive. "Good evening, Sir Handel," greeted Mighty. "Are we feeling better, like?" called Mac. "I am, thank you," said Sir Handel. "And thank you, fellas, for bringing me back to the transfer yards when I broke down."
Hey, nothing to it,
Mighty Mac chimed. "Are you feeling all right, Sir Handel?" asked Peter Sam. "We have been worried about you," called Rusty. "Please tell us what it was like at the Stone Quarry," said Rheneas. Sir Handel looked at his buffers. Then he remembered what Thomas had said. "If I tell you all," he said, "will you promise not to laugh?" "Of course not," said Duncan. "Come on, Sir Handel, you're amongst friends here. You can tell us anything," chuckled Skarloey. "Besides, we're all keen to know how you got on." Sir Handel looked from one engine to another, and then sighed. "Very well," he said at last. "But you might be surprised what I went through." Sir Handel took a deep breath And this was the story he told. Two little engines were waiting outside the entrance of the Stone Quarry. "When did managers say the new engine would come?" asked Mark. "I think within a few minutes," replied Carlin. Just then, a loud shrill whistle was heard. "Well, brace yourself, Mark," whispered Carlin, as Sir Handel puffed angrily in. "Sir Handel, is it?" asked Carlin. "Yes, what's it to you?" Sir Handel snapped angrily. "Show me what I need to do and be done with it." "I'm afraid it's not that simple," said Carlin. "First, you must be able to control your anger and respect others before you can think about going home." Sir Handel was cross. "I just had an old friend of mine be sent away, and the Fin Controller says I played up, and that's why I'm here. I want to start work now so I can go home now." "It's not that simple," began Mark. "Oh, like you claptraps ever know anything about wanting to work," Sir Handel huffed, and he stormed away. "Oh dear," groaned Carlin. "This one's not going to last long." Time went by, and the more Sir Handel wanted to go home, the longer he was kept at the Stone Quarry. According to the manager, he was meant to stay there for a few months, but I'm sorry to say that because of his attitude, months slowly turned into years. During that time, Sir Handel found it hard to go up hills whenever he took trucks out of the quarry, which was the only time he was allowed to leave the premises. One day, Pierce, the diesel that worked at the quarry, noticed that Sir Handel was quite unhappy. "I can see you miss your friends," he asked knowingly. "Friends? More like my greatest friend," puffed Sir Handel. "I heard you talking about an engine called Duke," said Pierce. "What was he like?" "He was the greatest engine ever," said Sir Handel. "I used to work with him on the Mid-Sodor, along with my friend Peter Sam. We were called Falcon and Stewart back then. He was sent away from my railway because we couldn't afford to repair him. And I played up, and it doesn't matter. I'm never going to go home." Pierce tried to reason with Sir Handel, but the little blue engine had already puffed away. "I deeply feel for him," Pierce whispered to himself. "I truly do." Time went by, and soon Sir Handel made a surprising discovery. He was waiting at the water tower with Alec, a small cabless saddle tank engine who often prepared the trains at the Stone Quarry. "Have you heard the news?" asked Alec. "We got a new engine." "A new one?" said Sir Handel. "You mean I'm no longer—" "No," said Alec. "His name's Michael. He's from a small railway on the mainland. He's quite the character." Sir Handel was surprised. "I've already seen him about," Alec continued. "Just be careful of him." Once his thirst had been quenched, Alec set off to carry on with his shunting. Sir Handel didn't know it yet, but he was going to have a great challenge with Michael. Alec was right. Michael was quite the character when he first arrived at the Stone Quarry. He was a little yellow tank engine with a shiny gold dome. He had a small set of front wheels and 4 driving wheels. He used to work in an amusement park, but the park had since closed and the Stone Quarry had brought him. As Sir Handel had thought when he had first arrived, Michael thought that the Stone Quarry was going to be an easy task. According to Michael, he would find work somewhere else in a few months' time. But I'm sorry to say that was not the case. As many of the engines had expected, he clashed heavily with Sir Handel. Vulgar comments were made towards each other, and the insults were so bad they weren't worth repeating. Sir Handel grew jealous of Michael because he was allowed to take bigger trains out of the Stone Quarry, even after Sir Handel himself had spent the whole morning shunting them. But one day, all of that was about to change. One morning, Sir Handel had just helped Pierce and Carlin in the yards when Michael pulled up beside him. "Guess what, old man?" he boasted. "I get to take a large load of stone to another quarry on the other side of the island." "Oh, do you now?" snorted Sir Handel. "And why are you telling me?" "Because I just want to see the look on your face when I go out of the quarry once more," Michael boasted. Sir Handel gritted his teeth. "Then I suggest you get going before my temper gets worse," Sir Handel snapped. Michael just laughed. He didn't care if he was crawling under Sir Handel's boiler like an itch. He puffed off, laughing. Sir Handel sighed. "The sooner I get out of here, the better," he muttered as he carried on with his work. A little later, Sir Handel had just been shunting trucks at an incline of the quarry when Ringo pulled in. He was a small blue tender engine and the oldest of the engines at Stone Quarry, but he looked rather serious. "We've just got a call in for manager," he said. "Michael's had an accident with his train. You've been asked to go and help." "I will certainly not," snorted Sir Handel. "You think after the way he's treated me I'm going to go to his aid?" "Sir Handel," said Ringo softly, "you have been asked to go and help. And besides, if you don't, you might be staying in this quarry a lot longer than you wish to. But if you do go and help, your chances of going home might increase." Sir Handel thought about this for a moment. "Very well," he said at last. "But I'm not going to look forward to it." Sir Handel pumped his pistons and set off out of the quarry. Ringo watched until he was out of sight. Before long, Sir Handel found Michael. The trucks, being as silly as they were, had pushed Michael off the rails into a ditch. They had remained on the rails as a result. Michael was surprised when Sir Handel arrived and buffered up to the train. "What on earth are you doing?" he demanded. "You're not supposed to be out here." "When there's a rescue I am," Sir Handel snapped. Sir Handel began to pull with all his might. The trucks were heavy, but so was Michael. "Come on, old boy," encouraged his driver. "You can do this." Sir Handel knew that he could. Wheel turn by wheel turn, Sir Handel was able to pull Michael out of the ditch and back on the rails. Luckily, Michael's wheels had left grooves within the grassland, and he was easily guided back on the rails with no problem. Soon everything was ready, and Sir Handel pushed Michael and all 6 of his trucks, filled to the brim with stone, up the line. He jittered and jolted whenever they came to a hill, but Sir Handel did not let it stop him from being a useful engine. At last, tired but triumphant, Sir Handel brought Michael and his trucks safely to their destination. He had almost rattled himself to bits, but had done a good job regardless. Then, when the trucks were unloaded, Sir Handel took Michael back to the Stone Quarry light engine. Michael would certainly be in need of some repair. Weeks went by, and to the surprise of the other engines, Sir Handel did a lot more work during Michael's absence. He didn't even complain once. But then, one day, Sir Handel was at the entrance of the Stone Quarry when he heard a whistle. Michael came puffing in, but he was no longer wearing his rich yellow coat. He was now painted light brown with black trimming. "It's good to see you," said Sir Handel. "And you too," puffed Michael. "Thank you so much for helping me. I'm sorry my thanks is late though." "Oh, that's all right," replied Sir Handel. "Why are you out here anyway?" asked Michael. "Manager says I can go home now," said Sir Handel. And while you were away, I doubled my work efforts. Good for you, said Michael. But, say if you misbehave again, we'll always welcome you. I'll take that into consideration, said Sir Handel. You've all been very good to me. Thank you. Thank you, puffed Michael. Safe travels. The two engines smiled at each other, and Sir Handel began to make his way home. It was summertime when Sir Handel finally returned to the transfer yards. And of course, we all know about his smooth ride when he came home, don't we? When Sir Handel finished his story, dusk had fallen over the transfer yards. The little engines were in awe. That was a wonderful story, said Skarloey. I can't believe you went through all that, said Peter Sam. Indeed, agreed Rusty. How do you feel now that you've told us? A big smile spread across Sir Handel's face. I feel much better, he puffed. I didn't realise how easy that was. Well, you've done it, said Rheneas. And we have great respect for you, puffed Skarloey. You've come a long way, Sir Handel. Duke would be so proud. The engines all whistled in agreement. Sir Handel smiled happily for the first time since he had actually come home. He now felt like the narrow gauge railway was truly his own home once more. For a long time afterwards, Sir Handel was happy to be back on the Skarloey Railway. Even when Freddie was brought back to the railway too, after an absence of several years, Sir Handel continues to this day to work hard in the hills of Sodor. He knows for one thing that he will never forget his experience at the Stone Quarry, and when he is on his own, he will think about all the engines that helped him. Pierce, Carlin, Mark, Alec, and Ringo, but more importantly, he never forgot Michael. And from time to time he'll wonder how the little engine is getting on. Sir Handel is happy to be home, and between you and me, he would never trade it for anything else. Not even for his experience at the Stone Quarry.